properly. I think we're good on the audio side. Yes we are. Just a quick old audio check always to make sure at the beginning of the stream, just to make sure everything is alright. Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Sorry about the voice there. But yeah, we are live for round number 14, which takes us to the Principality of Monaco. I'm still waiting a few of the drivers getting into the lobby. You may note the low numbers for tonight due to the real life Mexican Grand Prix going on. We have started the lobby an hour out. It was decided by the admins and co-decision by the head of the league to start the race an hour earlier, so we will be kicking off the action at 8 o'clock rather than 9, so everyone can enjoy the race on that sort of thing. And hopefully it'll be a good one, even if we only have a few numbers on the grid this week. Still, I believe we will have about 12 drivers on the grid for tonight's race. But hopefully the drivers are enough to give us an action. Obviously we know Monaco is a very, very difficult track to overtake on, so it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for the drivers to take on. Obviously, much like Singapore, but Singapore, even Singapore has a few straights that you can take advantage of. This is relentless, non-stop corners where you have to have the maximum amount of focus that you can actually have. So it's going to be important for the drivers to be on top of their game and be constantly ready for every corner coming up very quickly, lap after lap. The 5-lapper race, obviously, with the quali to decide the main race, which will be 39 laps around this normally a normal street circuit, normal roads, I should say, rather. So obviously a very different road surface as well to drive on for the drivers. Obviously a little bit more bumpy, akin to the nature of the circuit being the way it is. The lights obviously coming in the tunnel may well be a bit for the drivers, depending on what the weather is. So the weather could play a massive part in everything that does indeed go on as well. And obviously going into the while we wait for the action to kick off, obviously we're still waiting to get the drivers in again. We may not have 12 drivers, we only have 9 at the moment, so we may not have as many as we think. We're just obviously waiting for everything to be sorted on that front. But looking at championship standings, after round number 13 at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain last week, it was, I believe, I'm not sure, I have to go back and check. There was some post-race penalties to note about last week that meant I think Rosary was dropped back off the podium, and I believe some other people got moved round as well. Wasn't entirely sure on who that was, but looking at championship standings while we wait for drivers to be ready. Rapid Coot still leads the championship, got around about a 70-point gap to Scott in second place on 110.5 points. Paraquix obviously once again, I believe Scott is here this weekend. Yes, he is. Paraquix and Ansma's obviously not here, so those two will not be making any. Angelismo could make up some ground here in the battle for what was P3. He could get himself up to P3 with a decent haul of points this week. He is obviously, from a little bit of practice, he's looking on the pace as the Ferrari driver. I believe he is just the only lone Ferrari here this week. Tom Gorian, 72 points, only half a point behind, also looking quick, has been pushing himself in terms of trying to see how fast he can go in terms of his pace. So he'll be looking to that. Kirby, his teammate, not so confident going into the race tonight. We will be racing at night as well, that's why I'm saying tonight will be under the floodlights of that, as Pred has left the session. That's unfortunate for Pred. Hopefully he can get himself back into the lobby. Kirby not confident about his pace in this track, but it's all about survival this track rather than anything else. Checo in 8th. Obviously, I believe Checo is not actually here tonight, so there'll be nothing for Checo to actually gain. Sora not here this week either. He's in 9th. Has had an interesting form. I believe we have some wet conditions. That's going to be interesting to know if that is actually the case. Let's have a quick old look. It is! It's intermediate conditions. So that's a big challenge, as you can see the sheen on the surface. Cal, as we were talking about, 47.5 points. I believe he's had some issues with the game. So there was a recent patch that came out, and I believe old gen, if you were on an old gen console, you had some issues with wheel connections, which Codemasters have addressed. Hopefully it should be fixed in the coming weeks and months. The knowing Cody's, that might not always be the case. I believe Angelissimo will be our first car on track. Indeed so, it will be Angelissimo. Let's see how much spray is actually being kicked up by the tyres. It'll be looking quite a bit. Obviously that pit lane exit here could be a little bit of a challenge here as you come out, but even more of a challenge though is the intermediate conditions on a track like this. I mean, you do run quite high wings anyway. But while we're going round and just waiting for him to actually get around again, the constructors, obviously, Williams still lead 160 points. Alpine closing up, obviously Vapid being the only Williams driver here again, with Alpine in 2nd ahead of Haas. Aston Martin in 4th, with Red Bull in 5th. Mercedes in 6th, AlphaTauri in 7th, Alfa Romeo in 8th, Ferrari in 9th, and 10th is McLaren, and last, once again with no drivers. However, I could have a special guest. Obviously, you've seen recently that there has been a few commentaries have been done solo. Some stuff has happened behind the scenes, which I will not go into, as per last week. But we could have a surprise guest if he does make an appearance here this week. It is one of the drivers who obviously did have a few issues with the wheel host, as we've had Cal and Checo both connect. Let's see if Checo will be able to get himself into the party. Yes, there he is. Let's see if he's going to be racing or if he's not going to be racing. It's one of the two. No idea really on that front. While we're looking at that though, we have Angelissimo, who has just started on his lap, so we will go on board with Angelissimo, who takes us around a very wet Monaco. So up the hill towards Casino Square we go. Cal, remember to include your audio so that lovely people can hear your voice. Through the first sector. Hello. Yep, make sure that we can hear you on the stream.
Indeed so, yeah, it is a pleasure to be here, and hopefully the drivers that are here can produce an excellent race, and we have Checo joining as well.
Yes, nice to see obviously one Aston Martin. Obviously, normally yourself you normally would be racing, but obviously due to some complete screw-ups on the end of Codemasters as of the last few weeks have meant that your wheel, I believe, doesn't work properly with the game.
Yes, that is true. My controller works fine as of right now, hence why I'm here. But my wheel does not. As soon as I turn it on, nothing happens. So yeah, nothing I can really do about it. So yeah, it's great to be here.
It's an unfortunate case for yourself, obviously, as well, Cal, because we have been seeing you've been building a little bit of confidence over the season. Obviously, we know that you use, I believe, no assists apart from racing line and braking, if I'm correct.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's been a good season so far, and gaining confidence, as you said. But yeah, let's see what the rest is going to bring for us.
Yes. So obviously, Cal, you've raced around this track many times yourself. You know how much of a challenge this track actually is in the dry. What do you reckon the mindset is? As I reckon Finns has crashed at some point. Ooh. That's unfortunate for him.
That is indeed.
What challenge in the wet does this actually serve? Oh, he's in the middle of the track there. That's unfortunate. That's probably put Tom Doyle on. But obviously in the wet, how does your mindset change in terms of how you go about it?
Yeah, well, you're obviously going to be more tentative on the throttle, on the brakes as well, and you're just going to be more careful around the lap as well. So it just depends. If you do like to take risks, then it could be something that helps you, or you could be someone who is trying to just stay safe. stay safe and
Safe.
stay out of the walls as well. That is obviously around Monaco. That is something that is probably a primary aim for a fair few drivers here. So let's hope there's not too much of that going on tonight.
Yes, indeed. The thing about Monaco, much more than any other track, is the fact that it is very much a case in point where if you want, it's a survival race really. It's a race of attrition.
Yeah,
Obviously, with less drivers, it's not as difficult, but for the drivers that are here, they still have to keep out of the walls.
Yeah, that's true. It is a very, very easy thing to do around here, putting it in the wall, as I'm sure many of the drivers would have experienced in the past and may possibly be experiencing tonight.
Will depend, obviously. Your one thing about Monaco is if you can keep your front wing out of the walls and your tires out of the walls in the same time, I believe you can win a race even if you're not the quickest around here.
Yeah, we saw in real life in 1996, I believe, 14th on the grid won the race. So, and we don't even have 14 drivers, so this could be anybody's race, really.
Indeed so. And obviously, from yourself racing around this track, what sort of personalities have you picked up on the track, obviously, from driving it yourself over the games?
Yeah, well, there's a particular tricky braking zone is into Raskas, as you're also turning as well, so that can be very tricky, particularly on worn tyres, or indeed in the wet conditions as we've got now.
Indeed so. As I say, the wet conditions are very much a challenge. Obviously, I believe it's not the longest in terms of race distance, but it's the longest in terms of laps we have for 50% race distance, for 39 laps around here. I said this in the main intro, but the fact that the track gives you no time to think about the next corner that's going to be coming up it's very different to most other circuits on the F1 calendar in terms of there's no other track that's really like that now.
Yeah, it's very true. There's very little straights for you to get a break and all that in the lap, so it's just constant braking, turning, and just it can be quite, as well as physically on the body. Also, the mind can get quite drained as well. It can be very mentally draining, this track as well.
Indeed true, as I say, obviously a race like this requires your maximum attention in terms of just making sure of keeping it out of the barriers, but part of I think the appeal for some drivers when it comes to Monaco is the risk versus reward. It's a lot more obvious on a track like this due to the nature of, if you get it right, you can pull off and hook up a perfect lap.
Yeah, that's very true. Just watching some of the action there, it's a bit of a lock up there I've seen for, I think it was Tom Gordian going into the Nouvelle chicane, but he's still going on his lap, so hopefully for him he can still improve on his time.
Another driver as well that was very impressive last week was Shot Medal. I did end up saying his name wrong, so I do apologise to you and all of that. It's Pred has gone quickest in a 118.1. But as I say, he was very, very impressive on his debut last week. I thought this was a driver under name change, but it's actually a completely new driver. He did show a lot of pace last week out in Catalonia. Obviously a very different kettle of fish in terms of track here, but only a second race in. What do you reckon we can potentially see from him?
We could see, well, the possibilities could be endless. We've had a lot of different race winners this season in RFL, and a lot of drivers on the podium as well. So he could potentially add his name to that list.
I mean, RFL has run for 8 seasons now, on and off, and I believe you've been here for, I think, a few of these seasons now. Yeah, so obviously you've seen a lot of the action throughout the years, but any particular sort of you picked up throughout the years of your time here?
I've been part of every season in some form, so it's been a long time, yeah. And
oh dear, this has been enabled.
That is interesting. Could we maybe be seeing dry tyres towards the end? We've We've got 8 minutes left,
Yes.
so
We have Angelissimo actually out on the softs at
Is
the
that
moment.
why
I believe he's the first one to.
we have
First
got
one
a
to go
few
out.
drivers not set a lap time, so if they potentially known that it's going to dry up and have just stayed in the pits.
Get the best of the track track pressures, because obviously Monaco being a public space road, obviously, does that affect how tyre heat potentially works? And obviously with the tarmac being a little bit different.
Yeah, that could be the case. Obviously, it's, as you say, it's a public road, so there could be any sort of dirt and dust on the road that could be sitting there. So it can be what's the word? Quite a lot of fluctuations in the grips that you're finding. So it's a case of which drivers are able to find the best grip out there.
That is indeed correct. Obviously, it'd be interesting to see how obviously some of the obviously being at night time as well. A race that probably isn't normally run at time. Obviously, do you reckon that affects temperatures in terms of the way that the track temps actually work for the tires?
Yeah,
The operating window.
It will be colder track temperature, so it's gonna take that little bit more of work to get the tires up to temperature, and it'll be interesting to see if there's anyone potentially struggling with that in this session and going on to the races as well. So that's going to be something to look out for.
Angelissimo has gone into the 12s at the moment. Obviously, track temperature not quite up to standard yet. But if I can find a driver,
yeah, I do believe we've got Tom Dorian on a soft Compentire lap as well.
Yep, he is indeed. Obviously, the intermediates, obviously you can get a fair few laps out of those because of the tyre block and the having more fuel on board to actually be able to go and see about that. Because obviously Monaco. Obviously, we know that in the game, in real life, safety cars happen a lot. But in the game, obviously, particularly this year with Monaco, it doesn't always. Safety cars won't normally come out unless something really major actually happens.
Yeah, that is true. Just looking at the laps, it's very, very quick through the final sector there, and just onto the about to cross the line is Tom Dorian. Where's he going to put it? It is a provisional pole position for the Alpine driver.
111.7, very good lap there. I believe we will see quicker laps though, because some of these drivers will be, obviously as the track evolves and the water does drain away, obviously there's a lot. I believe the evolution of the water draining in this game is a little bit quicker than real life. Could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, it could be quicker. But yeah, I'm looking at SF Feds on board.
That's a big moment.
Big, yeah. We'll see if that's costing a little bit of time or not.
I think it will be last over the line. We'll get pole position because the track is just going to improve, because as it ticks down, it's whoever is last on track will get the best of the conditions.
Yeah, that's true. We've got Scott's just leaving the pits now for the first time in this session.
Yep, obviously waiting for the conditions to improve, which is a wise decision, I suppose, but you'll probably get, I'd say, depending on how much the Haas driver is fueled up for. Say, obviously ERS, when it's in the wet, obviously lasts a little bit longer in quali, but in the dry, I believe the best way of actually going about it is, because you can't really do 2 push laps in the ERS you get anymore.
Yeah.
You have to do 1 push lap and then back off and then go for another push lap.
Yeah, because there's probably not enough time left to do a lap, come back into the pits, and then come out again. So maybe he's going for a push harvest lap and then another push at the very end.
Potentially. But Cal, if you want to do us the honours of taking us around a lap of the Principality of Monaco as we go ahead and get ready to start.
Yep, we're just coming into the Rascast corner now, preparing for the start of this lap around the Monaco circuit. How is this lap going to go for the Haas driver as we go up through the gears now and heading towards the Sandoval corner and down into what is 5th gear? I'd probably be taking a lower gear for that corner, but very interesting. Probably not wanting to lose the back end as we now go into the Massenet corner, and this does look like he's not.
Looks like
pushing.
he's actually not pushing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Maybe he's going for 2 warm-up laps, maybe.
Potentially, yeah. I was thinking that. I believe Kirby was about to come round.
Yeah, I was very surprised when I saw 5th gear through Standard Rock, but now it is indeed Kirby starting his lap just about and heading towards the first. Oh, that's another back off. I think.
Yeah, I think they want to get the best amount of grip you can get. What a guy who is coming around, a driver who is coming around to complete a lap is Shot Medal though. He in the Alfa Romeo. Let's see where he puts himself in terms of his positioning. We know he's been quick, but I believe he's not had a good lap this time around.
Maybe just starting
a
lap
only at 116.
Yep. And this does look like a flying lap now, so through the bumpy section of turn 2 and now into Massenet we go, very very close to the barriers there. A little bit of a touch actually there on the second apex there of Massenet, and now into Mirago, down into what is 3rd gear for Shot Medal there, and now into the slowest corner in Formula 1, 2nd gear there, and now heading on the Portier, and now heading towards the tunnel as well, and it's into the bright lights of the tunnel, and then back out into the evening / night skies as we go into the Nouvelle chicane. Is that... oh, it's an invalidation.
He has invalidated,
yeah.
Yes he has.
That is a very easy thing to do into that corner. I have done that many a time, so I am not surprised that that has happened to some drivers out there. I do believe that Kirby has just started a lap as well.
He has just finished on a lap as well. He has improved. Yep, he's improved on a lap as well. Vapid's about to come around and complete his next lap, but I believe he's not improving on this one. He's going for a final lap. There very much is a case in point of the drivers. There's a little bit of cat and mouse going on with the drivers wanting the best of the conditions. No one wants to go too early and show their hand.
Pretty much everybody's either just started or they're about to start their final laps here.
Scott's actually finally, I think, is going to finally get a proper lap on board, because he's not yet got a time on board this yet. He's
very much leaving it till the last minute.
It's a bit of a risk in this one, because if you invalidate at all, then you're starting from the back.
That is true, yeah. So it's going to be a high pressure situation for the Haas driver, but let's see if he can indeed pull the lap out of the bag.
Indeed. We also, as I say, we're going to have many people coming in to complete laps. So I believe Tom Gorian has just started a lap going into turn 1. I think that is someone who's lost it there. I could think that is SF Pred, who's a little bit of an issue coming up to the back. As there goes Shot Met. There we go. 111.4. 1.4. So Vapid has crossed the finish line. See, where's Angelo going to put himself? He only goes P3. Fred has backed off, so he's not going to improve. So where's Scott going to put himself? Tom Goring, 111.2. Where's Scott? Scott's gone on pole, 111.1, so 178. And only one person, I believe, can actually potentially beat him, and that's probably Kirby. Potentially, because Checo's not managed to get a lap in either. Obviously, we know Checo joined late.
He is coming towards Raskas, but is he... He's not going full pace, so that's him. If he crosses,
maybe not fully.
P9, I think, or maybe P8.
He's not. Nope, that's going to be P9.
2/10 off, to be fair. That's close battle there for P8.
Yeah. Yep. And I believe that Shot Medal is not going to be improving on that lap. So that's the thing of when you get a wet to dry quality session. It really shows exactly why you don't show your hand too early.
Yeah, the pressure was very much on there at the end, but it is Scott who has taken pole position for the sprint race at Monaco.
Indeed so, obviously. So we have the 5-lapper sprint to now ahead of the drivers, but this is now the next part of where we have the issue of Monaco. This is the track that really does show if you've got bravery, because not many places are overtaking spots on a track like this.
Yeah, you've got the turn one Saint Devote, and then you've probably only really got the Nouvelle chicane. Apart from that, or if somebody makes a mistake, but apart from that, you've only really got those two corners.
It's definitely, as I say, it definitely will be a challenge for the drivers, but your grid lineup for the 5-lapper, it is going to be Scott W in the Haas, who takes the front row seat and the best seat in the house and the most important qualifying session in the season, with Tom Gorin alongside him, just over a tenth slower. It is 2 tenths back to Vapid in P3, who I believe was slightly too early with Shut Medal in P4, a good showing from him. In the Alfa Romeo P5 and 6, it is the two Italians of Angelis Monteferrari and Pred in the Alfa Tauri, who I believe had an issue on his lap. Kirby is in 7th in the second Alpine, with Fins in the Mercedes, who I believe crashed very early on, so we never got to see the thing with the pace of him. And then it was Checo and I believe someone else who I missed there right at the end. I believe it was someone there who I just missed, but I couldn't quite catch the bottom. I believe it was XCR Senna.
Yeah, I think that might be correct there.
Obviously, so you've had a look at, so you've been able to see some of the drivers going around. Who do we reckon is looking? Because obviously pole position is your best seat in the house for a track like this. If you get a decent start, you can control the pace. But who do you see coming out of this best?
Well, as you say, pole position is the best place really to start this, and potentially a lot easier to stay out of trouble as well than if you're further back in the grid. So we might see Scott trying to pull away at the start of the race. You've also got Vapid, who's obviously the championship leader, and then you've got the likes of Tom Gorian, Angelo, and a lot of other quick drivers as well.
Indeed, so it's going to be interesting to see how it gets approached, because obviously Monaco is pretty much, DRS is ineffective around here unless you're within about 3 tenths, I believe. 4 tenths is probably your range under that you're going to be able to make an overtake on.
Yeah, you've only got it in the main straight, and that's not really very long enough for it to take any effect really. So
that's going to be your thing that's going to be difficult, is the fact of how long do you reckon you can sit behind another driver for before you get impatient? It's a game of patience, a track like this.
yeah, and it's also sitting behind someone. You're going to be in the dirty air, obviously, and you're going to be losing that downforce. That's going to be very important at this circuit, and obviously tyre wear might come into effect into the main race as well. So we might see some dives into turn one or into the chicane as well. So it'll just be a case of who is the bravest or avoids being silly.
Indeed so. I mean, that you pretty much all factually correct with exactly what you're saying there. It's just a case in point of, obviously in this there will be a little bit more aggression than what we'll get in the main race itself, but we are heading straight into the action. The 5 red lights are coming on. No formation lap obviously in the 5-lapper race. Scott W is on pole position. Is he going to get the start he requires? It looks like it was a decent launch for the Haas. Yes, it was. Tom Gorin's not been able to make it stick, but I believe Shut Meadows actually up to 4th with Angelo up to P5. Oh, looks like Angelo's had some trouble with the wall there. He's been pushed out a little bit wide. Kirby's stayed in 7th. Looks like Fins is trying to potentially get past Kirby for 7th place, but he's not been able to get close enough. Looks like that Shut Meadows trying to get close as possible. What he can actually get to the back of Vapid here. Looks like
into Mirabeau there from Fins, I believe, and it's side by side.
Oh, yep. Side by side. I think Angelo's had a little bit of contact there. There's contact there once again. They're still going side by side. Fins. It looks like, also bear in mind though, Fins is from New Zealand, so there could be some issue, constancies of lag potentially.
Yeah, that is true.
Checo as well. That's very opportunistic in the tunnel with Checo and Kirby there. The Mexican driver getting past the American in the Alpine.
Yeah, very much so. Just going back to turn one there, it was the two Mercedes actually colliding into Saint Devote there, unfortunately for them.
Pred, that was very close. Sorry to cut you off there. With Shot Mel trying to get past there, he's practically pushing the Alfa Romeo through there, but carry on.
Yeah, it was just quite a dive from Fins and Mercedes into Mirabeau as well, so that's what sort of kicked off the whole thing there. So a little bit of bravery there from the Mercedes car. But yeah, he's now up into P7 as we can see.
XCR Senna's in the pits. Obviously he got damage in that melee of chaos that was turn 1. So unfortunate there for the Mercedes driver. Obviously still in his still in the early stages of league racing there for XCR Senna, but it's very much a case in point of a learning exercise when you take your first full season within a league.
Yeah, that is true. I remember my first time was actually in the opening season of RFL, and I remember being very nervous indeed. So maybe the Mercedes driver could be feeling some of those feelings as well. So hopefully he can recover in the main race itself.
Indeed, obviously 39 laps ahead of the drivers after this. As I'm just noticing how much more aggressive Pred is on the back of Shut Medal, but Medal's not being as aggressive with the curbs as what Pred is.
Yeah, that is true. He's just trying to search for that opportunity as the AlphaTauri driver, as we now have DRS enabled, as we're on lap 3 already in this race.
Indeed, as I say, laps do fly by. It's a very short lap around here. It's only about 1 minute 11s in qualifying, and it's only about 15 16s in the race.
Yeah, that is true. So it is, the laps are going to go quickly, but obviously in the main race we're going to have 39 of them, so it is going to be a bit more of a longer race than the sprint race, which is obviously just the 5 laps.
Indeed. Obviously still looking at it, it looks like Tom Gorian, we'll come off this just for a little second, looks like Tom Gorian is still staying close to the back of Scott in front, but very much a lot like real life. If we call back to, I believe it was Hamilton and Ricciardo in real life around here, that there's a time penalty for Angelismo in the background. But obviously, I believe, was it Ricciardo who managed to hold off Hamilton on old tyres for about 30 odd laps, if I remember correctly,
yeah,
2017, 2018?
Did he not have an engine issue as well, so that wouldn't have helped him, but it's obviously, there's still, because the track's so narrow, he was able to still defend it, so maybe that's a bit of what's going on here as well. Obviously no one's got an engine issue per se, but oh, that's a mistake from Vapid. He's hit the wall, and could that allow Shut Medal to maybe, oh, it's not quite going to be side by side, but he is still right on the tail of that Williams driver.
Yes, bear in mind that Monaco never has been a pad track. It's more of a wheel track than a pad track,
Yeah,
because of the amount of more lock that you have.
Yeah, is there going to be a chance into the tunnel, or maybe he's just a little bit too far back actually?
Indeed. As I say, it's just interesting to see how people go about the lines, and obviously you really see the drivers pull at the slipstream a little bit here and there to try and put off the driver in front of them and see if it actually catches them out at all.
Yeah, that is true. Just looking for the battle for P7. Checo is trying to see if he can. Oh, that's a mistake there from Kirby and Alpine, and it's side by side into
Oh, it's going to be
Rascas.
the infamous Rascas dive from a certain YouTuber.
And it's not quite worked for the Aston Martin driver, but can he get a good run onto the main straight and into Sandoval? Again, it just looks like he's too far back.
Yes, both of them have no ERS deployment to speak of. The lights are on both of the cars, basically saying that these are both under 10%
Oh, Tom's taking the lead.
use.
Tom's taking the lead.
Oh, what? When? Okay, what happened there? I've missed that while that was going on. I wonder if there's...
There might have been a mistake into Miracle, possibly. I wasn't watching either, so I didn't get it.
I'm not sure what was going on there. It's, I just caught that as well. Like, I just noticed the swap of positions. That's unfortunate there for Scott. He's probably just picked up a warning there for corner cutting, because that is a place you can pick up warnings very easily for. So there's either been some contact that's happened between the Alpine and the Haas, or something else has happened.
Fred has spun out of the back.
Oh, you also cannot reset the track, Fred, so you're probably, that's just been caught
against the rules there, unfortunately.
Yep, and that's also nearly caused an incident for... That's caused Kirby... Yeah, that has actually caused an issue for Kirby, so that's definitely going to be something that he will be called out on. So unfortunately, Pred, you're probably most likely going to be getting a 15-second penalty for that, because that is the penalty for resetting the track.
Yeah, very, very unfortunate there, but yeah.
Okay, so obviously with most of that, it's just waiting the two Mercs crossing the line. You've seen what the drivers have managed to do with the first race, the 5-lap sprint. We've seen some of the action that's unfolded. That's just a taste of what we have to come.
Yeah, we've obviously had some drama on the final lap here.
Oh, Finn's just decided he doesn't like that front right wheel anymore.
Yeah.
And Senna doesn't have a front wing and he's still just driving around anyway.
But yeah, it just shows how easy it is just to make a wee mistake that can just prove so costly.
That is indeed correct. It's, as I say, it goes back to the point of the track being very much a case in point of, if you can master a track like this, you'll do very well. You don't have to use more than about 80% of your actual pace on a track like this.
Yeah, because if you can take the lead, you can just defend all you like, and everything will be fine and dandy, as they say.
Indeed. As it indeed says, as Tom Gorian is indeed the winner of the sprint race. Not entirely sure how when the swap of positions happened between the Haas and the Alpine, but good points there for the Alpine driver, obviously in the hunt for the constructors against Williams. 3 points for him, it'll be 2 points for Scott, and it'll be 1 point for Vapid.
That is very much true, yeah. As we see the podium celebrations for the sprint race.
So your results from the 5-lapper and for the main race itself. It is Tom Gorian who takes the 5-lap sprint race victory from Scott in the Haas, with Vapid completing the podium. Shot medal in 4th. A good drive from him. Just not quite having the pace, it looks like. Then it is the two Italians of Andolissimo and Pred, 5th and 6th. Kirby, who I believe was affected by Pred resetting to track, is in 7th with Checo, and in 8th, Finns and Senna round out the final 2 positions in 9th and 10th. So, going into this race, obviously more concentration required for the drivers in the main race itself, but who reckons going to have the mindset for it, and the physical nature of the track being the way it is?
Yeah,
who do you
indeed.
reckon?
We've got Tom Gorian on pole position, and he is on the wheel, and we've got Scott in 2nd position and Vapid in 3rd, both on the pad. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects things.
Indeed so. So while we are waiting for the drivers to get the next, waiting for Vapid to reset the grid for the main race itself, just a little bit of sort of real life trivia. Obviously, Monaco has been the home of, for many years, for the Monaco Grand Prix itself. What would you say if you had to pick, like, say, a certain race, or if there are moments from races in real life? What would you say are the best moments from this track?
Well, you've got the 1996 race where there's many drivers crashing, and obviously, as I touched on earlier, Olivier Panis winning from 14th. So that is one standout feature. But there's the famous Ayrton Senna crash at Portier when he was leading by about 24 years. So that's a thing that happened. And then we've obviously got Kimi Räikkönen going to his boat. So yeah, that's a few things I remember. And we've got, in 2006 qualifying, we've got Michael Schumacher stopping at Rascasse, and it blocked Alonso, I believe it was.
It was indeed Alonso.
And
that was his 2nd championship, I believe. If I remember rightly, championship one.
Schumacher was sent to the back of the grid.
I think that was indeed correct. Yeah. Yes, that was correct on that one. It's just obviously, we know Monaco has evolved as a track over the years from the initial sort of track was first created, but obviously with the newer cars, do we believe, is there still a space really in terms of, apart from prestige, on the calendar for Monaco in terms of real life? Because obviously it's very difficult to overtake, and it's not really a track that really invites overtakes.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
it's very much It is one of the best qualifying sessions to watch, in my opinion. However, the race, not so much. We probably need maybe like a little alteration to the maybe just chuck in a big straight or something somewhere. That could maybe help things. But
Yeah,
I don't. Well, there's not
obviously
really
because
many options, but
yeah, because obviously you're only limited by what the spaces that you have available to the public road. Because obviously it being a public space, because well, a public road for when it is not used as a track. Some great actual viewing spots for the race if you own any of the the big sort of apartment spaces or anything.
Yeah, that's very much true. It's also, yeah. So it was, if you do get to there, it'd be good to not drop anything off the balcony, because then that could be bad.
That could be.
Because with people
winning a race,
like videoing stuff, like a phone could slip out of the hand, and it could go onto the track, and you just don't want that,
Well, I mean, a few years ago, I think it was during one of I believe it was the right races. Well, if I'm correct, it was Barrichello who threw his steering wheel out of his car, and I believe it got collected by another car.
Ooh. Yeah. That's. Oh, wasn't that when like a drain cover came loose or something? Was that race?
No, I'm thinking of another one. It's when I believe when Coulthard was still racing.
Oh yeah.
When he was still at Red Bull, I believe.
Was that like a crash at Massenet, was it?
I believe it was the entrance just before Casino Square.
Yeah.
It was Casino Square, like just before the entrance of it. He lost it and then he chucked his steering wheel out of the car, and then another car came along and just took the steering wheel. And one of those steering wheels are not exactly cheap to actually replace.
Yeah, I was about to say, a very expensive thing to do.
Yeah, it's very much a true case in point in that. If you hear us referring a lot to sort of real life F1, it's because a lot of the time drivers are just going to be following each other. It's just the nature of Monaco. It's just the fact of you need to have something to talk about to pass the time, because it's
that's
the track
very
is
true.
not designed for that.
Yeah. Trying to remember any other big moments that we've had. We've obviously that big crash with Verstappen and Grosjean into Sandoval. That sort of stands
2015, I believe.
Yeah. And I also Rosberg in the Williams, he crashed at the swimming pool. I remember that being a big thing.
Yeah, that was where I think he clipped the wall at the exit of the swimming pool, if I'm correct. Basically bounced off one wall and pinballed off one wall into another wall and into another wall.
There was Lewis Hamilton 2008 hitting the barrier, getting a puncture, and then winning the race. If I remember rightly.
Yes, indeed that's correct. That's just the thing of Monaco. You get stuff that happens elsewhere that doesn't happen with any other track. Obviously, Monaco being a very, very old school track in terms of its layout, it's changed very little. Obviously, the cars have got bigger, which has caused a little bit of an issue for width. Because when the cars would have first raced on one of the older variants of the track, they would have probably been a lot thinner in terms of obviously fitting more than one car side by side.
Yeah, the cars were obviously a lot narrower back in the day, so that would obviously be a factor as well. As I believe we are about to go for the formation lap.
Indeed, I never got given a time of when we were going, but in this one, I got one for the actual other race. It looks like we have everyone is on. Strategy for the drivers elected starting tires. Brain, work with me sometimes. Mediums for the most part, apart from Shut Middle, who's decided to go for the hards, and Pred is on the softs.
Yeah, that's very maybe hoping for an early safety car potentially, so we can get potentially a good start and jump up a few positions.
The soft tire grip for Pred is going to be useful for him, but Monaco is an undercut track, if I'm correct, for pit stop strategy.
I believe that is correct, yeah.
Because pit stops are in Monaco pretty much decide races. I believe 95% of the time. it can be decided by that. So it's all about getting under the skin of your opponent and actually trying to make the undercut really work.
Yeah, that is very true. We do seem to have the two Mercedes a lot further behind the rest of the pack, so that could see potential for some cold tyres or some slow driving going into the final few corners.
Indeed, obviously, we talk about tyre temperatures are actually a lot more. Pred has been disqualified with Angelissimo. That's not gone well for the two Italians. But tyre temps are a lot more. Tyre temps, as I say, have always been important, but they play a lot more of a factor this year, obviously, with being able to decide when you go into your grid box.
Yeah, I think on this year's game, the tyre temperatures are a lot more important than they have been in previous years.
Indeed, as we're waiting for the final cars to line up, and we will have the 5 red lights to go on. So the lights are on for the Monaco Grand Prix. Lights out and away we go. Good start from Tom Goring. However, it's going to be a better start for Scott. It goes side by side. There's a little bit of contact as they go into turn 1. Scott is going to be hauling it to dry on the outside. Vapid wants to go for the move up the inside. A little bit of contact once again. Chuck Middle's kept hold of his 4th place at the moment. Looks like Pred and Angelissimo are trying to go side by side up the hill. Hasn't managed to work. It looks like Kirby's lost a few positions off the start. I think he has been spun, or he's had a little bit of a clip on the wall.
With the wall there, unfortunately, for the Alpine driver.
Fred has not really been able to make a lot of ground at the start, obviously, with soft compound tyres, and he's going to be coming in very early. So it looks like Kirby is immediately back past Exia Senna. Yeah. Senna, I think, just gave him the space to go for it there. It looks like, meanwhile, up at the front, Scott is still trying to get back past Tom. Obviously, it's very important for the race if you're not stuck in the dirt here behind a driver using a little bit of his ERS deployment. Thought about a move there, a little bit of a lock up there from the Alpine driver of Tom Gorian. He's a little bit wide coming out there. I think Scott thought about going side by side into the back. Very wise idea not to do so. It's not really a 2x2 corner, as Scott is still keeping himself in the wheel tracks of the Alpine in front as they go into Rascasse for the first time and into Anthony Nose.
Fins is round.
Oh, it's an unfortunate thing there for Fins, I believe. Has he got any damage, I wonder? Yes, he does. That's an unfortunate thing for him. So, obviously, we've had the first lap or so now take its effects, and obviously everyone's still exactly where they are at the moment. But we know, obviously, Pred is going to be stopping a little bit earlier than everyone else.
He is very close to the back of Angelo. Is he going to go for a move?
Oh, that is almost a send.
A little bit of a
Angelo saw it coming.
Yeah, that's
very true. How late Pred was in the brakes, I saw that one coming. The two Italians, obviously, they're both in Ferrari power, I believe. No, it's Honda power cars for AlphaTauri, I believe.
Yeah, that is very true. Is there going to be any opportunity into the Nouvelle chicane for the AlphaTauri driver? But it looks like he's just obviously that little bit too far back. That's
a big curb. That was the curb there that did that one. The curbs in this game are a lethal combination sometimes. Yeah, if you try and put power down, they'll just sometimes just force you off into a wall. I mean, I believe in Australia this season in RFL, I think you found that out, didn't you? If I'm correct, or if I believe it was another. It was XCR, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was just going through. I think it was the penultimate corner. Just got on the curb and then see you later, basically. So that was.
Indeed, as Fins has retired from the session in the pit lane, so we have our first retirement on lap number 3. I don't know why you don't just carry on, Fins. You were going to get points in the race.
Yeah, and there is big potential for the safety car as well to bring you back into the race later on.
Don't know why you didn't just stay in the race. I mean, I would have done that. How few cars are here. It's going to be a very boring race, but better points than no points at all.
Yeah. Maybe just thought it wasn't worth his time, I don't know, but anyway we go on to what is the 9 remaining drivers in this race now, and we do have Fred trying to close up to the back of Angelo's Ferrari car, but again he's just not getting close enough here, and his tyres, they will be going off pretty soon as well, so he's going to have to, if he wants to get past, he's going to have to do it pretty soon, I would suggest.
So we have a yellow. I think Senna's out of the session. He has crashed in Tobacco, I believe. We have a safety car.
Is it virtual or
virtual?
Is it full course?
It's a virtual.
Yeah.
That's Tobacco, I believe. Middle of Tobacco swimming pool?
Swimming pool, yeah, just after the swimming pool. Maybe similar
Both Mercs
to the Rosberg Williams crash I talked about earlier.
Indeed.
Maybe a similar sort of situation to that, who knows? At this moment in time, only XTR Senna knows. So, yeah.
Yep. So obviously now drivers will be under the delta. It's actually the delta on this game I tend to find is not the most consistent. It'll either go up massively and then come down massively, or you'll suddenly find you're about 1.5 seconds in the red and you have to stop all of a sudden because the game gives you about 10 seconds to do that, and it's like, well, the only way of doing that is I literally have to go on the brakes full force.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple of instances this season where that has indeed happened for the whole field really. So I think a couple of drivers got caught out. Oh, it's a restart, and that's nose to
I think
tail.
Angelo was caught out a little bit by, obviously, I think Shot Metal on those hards. He's managed to get them up to temperature quite well, I will say. Doing a good job on those tyres.
I think someone's had quite a lot of gap to the delta because the cars are closed up massively from what was before the virtual safety car happened. As we see Fred get a bit of oversteer there going out of Sandeville, so he's lost a little bit of ground to Angelo.
Wonder if the tyres are starting to fall off already on that car.
Yeah, very true. Oh,
He's not the gamble's not really worked for Pred though. It's just not paid off. I mean, he needed to make the moves early, and obviously Monaco being a track that is incredibly hard to overtake on. However, one thing for Pred that is going to come in very handy is the fact of how early he's going to be in the pit lane. Hang on, the stream's doing something funny. Give me a second. Doing
It's
the
still
static effect.
Nose to tail. Well, it's a little bit more spread now, but there'll maybe be some drivers looking to see if they can get some DRS maybe, and maybe go for a dive somewhere in this track if they can find the space and the bravery.
Indeed. Sorry about that. There was some terrible static in the Twitch and the actual stream itself, so I just had to quickly sort that out. Twitch things. Lovely. Anyway, going back to the action, obviously, I believe Tom's made a mistake somewhere. He had about a second gap. He's lost about half a second somewhere.
Scott just keeping the pressure on to the race leader, just sitting back, maybe waiting for maybe a mistake from Tom Gorian, but it's probably a game of patience right now for the Haas driver, Scott, so let's see if anything unfolds from that battle.
Yes, and obviously indeed on that front. I believe it, if we're going to go off Monaco, obviously Monaco being the home of gambling and all that sort of thing as well, in terms of casinos, it's a bit like hedging your bets really on black or red.
Yeah, that is a good analogy there for you. Yeah. At the moment, I think Scott's erring on the side of caution in terms of not doing anything silly at the moment. But let's see how that's going to unfold as we've got the Alfa Romeo off Shot Medal under half a second, the gap to P3 for Vapid. So is he going to try to maybe make a move as maybe the medium tyres fall off? And that's a bit of a mistake there from Vapid. So is Shot Medal
I think must have been some overstay there.
A move up
I mean, if you're close enough into Mirabel, you can make the move down the inside, but you have to have a lot of faith in the driver that you're racing with is going to leave you the space for it.
Yeah, I think the train is sort of closing together a little bit here again, and let's see if anything arises from it.
Obviously, I believe Vapid said he wasn't that confident going into this that he potentially could win this. Obviously, knowing the fact that Vapid is indeed on pad, and very much this not being as much pad friendly in terms of a track, it's obviously due to the nature of you've only got so much lock on a controller. It allows you obviously just go from left to right to a certain amount. Obviously with the wheel you've got more lock to lock in terms of left to right. It's... I wonder if he's feeling a little bit the effects of that.
Maybe. We've got the Alfa Romeo car pretty close to the back of Vapid's coupe there, but he's just, again, not quite close. As we've also got the leaders, a similar gap as well, up ahead of a roundabout.
That gap's came down
half a
again,
second.
so
Oh,
it was
Vapid's
down to about
hit the
3.5
wall,
tenths.
A little bit there. And can this allow an overtaking manoeuvre? Not quite.
Still
maybe.
not close enough yet. This has got to be frustrating for the likes of Angelissimo, Shot Medal and Pred here, because it's allowing, if you notice as well, Checo does occasionally gain ground in the Aston Martin behind as well.
Yeah, so I think it's a case of waiting for the right moment, because a ludicrous dive bomb is just going to end in contact here. But you also need to be a sort of aggressive in your overtakes, so it's just about getting that balance right, I think. And for Vapid here, he's got a fair championship lead. So in his mind, it's just about keeping it out the barriers and trying to stay into his current third position and just staying as close to his challengers in the championship as he can, and don't do anything silly as Pred comes into the pit lane.
I'm assuming that will be for the hard compound tyres for the next 30 laps.
That could potentially be what he's doing. Yep, he's onto the hards.
So he will now be going to the end of the Grand Prix.
That is very true. And again, it is nose to tail between that Williams and Alfa Romeo. But yet again, Shot Medal, he's not yet going for the overtake, which is a sensible approach. But he's going to have to try and get past eventually if he does want to catch up to the two leaders in front.
It's going to be interesting to see how Shot Medal approaches this, because obviously he's on a different tyre compound, so
yeah,
he's going to be going a few laps longer anyway.
Maybe he's
knowing the fact the mediums.
Yeah, maybe he's just biding his time behind. He knows that all the drivers around him, he knows that they're going to be pitting earlier unless we see a safety car. So he is just really being patient, I think, at this moment in time. Oh, it's a bit of a mistake there though from the Alfa Romeo into Rastas. Has that affected anything?
Doesn't look like anything to say. This really does highlight how just non-effective DRS is in a track like this.
Yeah, that is very true. It is. It's not doing too much, I think. I mean, it'll give the odd mile an hour here or there, but it's not as effective as it maybe could be.
Yeah, it's a case in point. If this does happen now, at some point, it'll end up happening where a driver will get impatient and just decide to send it at some point, and it's whether or not the driver in front is prepared for when that eventually does happen.
Yeah, because if the driver in front does see it, they can obviously move to avoid. But if they don't, it's going to end very badly for both drivers, I'd suspect.
While that's going on, the lead at the front, Tom Gorian has eked out the gap over a second over Scott. While this is going on.
It was a very Shot Medal had a little bit of a Vapid pits.
And that's early.
Into the pits. Has he got damage? Is the question.
And that could be an undercut.
Or could be going for the undercut as well. Let's see. Is there a front? Yes, there is. There is a front wing change for Vapid. That is interesting.
That must have been Vapid must have been carrying damage from the early laps.
How long has he been carrying that for? Because the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari behind were pretty much all over him, but there's just no place to make the move really. So that is, that's very interesting. But that has
Scott's got the gap under a second again.
And Vapid is now
at the front.
He's got Pred behind him. He's got Pred right behind him. So is that now going to be a thing? Because Vapid's tyres, they're going to be a lot colder than Pred's. And can the AlphaTauri driver maybe make an overtake here maybe going through. He's right, but he's almost pushing him through the hairpin, and
Yeah,
as we go into
he's
Portier,
practically pushing him.
is this going to be an overtake?
Oh, there's a little moment there. I think he's. The thing is, you don't want a Raikkonen and Perez moment here.
Side by side.
Round the
Ends the
outside.
chicane,
Oh,
and he
fair
makes
play
it
there.
stick.
Good move from Pred. Good move from Pred. That's a very good move from the AlphaTauri driver.
Fair play to Vapid for also leaving the space as well. Could have easily just said no and slammed the door, but he didn't do that, and obviously thinking of his championship lead at this moment in time as well.
It's 70 points, I believe.
Yeah, so he's just he doesn't want to do anything silly that'll lose him a chunk of points, because arguably two of the people that could be his championship rivals are first and second at this moment in time, so they could be looking to try and gain some points back in this race.
Indeed. It looks like Vapid though is falling back just a little bit, although he's getting a couple of tenths there from the looks of it. So looking at the battle for the front, obviously, could be reading my mind here on these two drivers, but who pits first out of these two?
I think Scott kind of has the power here, because he can see whether Tom Gorian is going to be pitting or not, so he can sort of make the decision of pits this lap or whenever that may happen. But if Tom pits, he could maybe make a mistake of pitting too early, and then, for example, a safety car might come out, and that could potentially worsen his race, really. And we have Kirby now in the pits
his
as well.
teammate, is in the pit lane. I
So
believe
yeah,
it
it's
is
the
the
front
only
line
team
change
that
as
has
well.
two drivers here.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true. Yeah, and another
Only team with two drivers here this week is Alpine. Obviously, that's going to help them in the constructors against Williams, who currently lead the standings.
Oh, Scott just letting Tom Gorian know that he's there. Taking a little bit of a different line into the Nouvelle chicane through the braking zone, and a little bit of a lock-up maybe I saw as well from the Alpine driver. So Scott just applying the pressure right now, and the question now is going to be, can Tom Gorian live with it?
Yep, so they're still going. Neither of them are budging in terms of any kind of who goes first for the pit lane, because I believe these two will probably pit around about the same time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, then it comes down to whoever is ahead in the pit lane.
I think it's going to be a case of one of them pits one lap and the other's going to be pitting the lap after.
What, so they don't come out in traffic?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously one of them's going to want to do the undercut, so I think that could potentially be what happens, and it's going to be a big race out of the pits maybe.
The only wild card I haven't thought about in this entire thing is Shut Metal on the hard tyres, because obviously he started on those tyres, so he's got a few more laps. He could be a cork in the ball here.
He could
and
be.
He's catching from the looks of it.
I mean, if he's got the pace when he does indeed go into mediums, or a safety car could play into his hands as well later on. Who knows? So he's got some good options here, I'd say.
Still going. Although I will say now though, that gap has came down. That gap to Shut Metal from Scott was 5 seconds. It's now 4.6.
Yeah. I think this is probably the point where the medium tyres are starting to look a bit worse for her, as you can. Well, I'm looking at Scott's front left tyre, and there is evidence
it's not happy.
of wear on it. Yeah.
You can see there's a fair few grooves in those tyres.
There is, yeah. And
there's a deep groove in the rears as well.
Yeah. Vapids and Preds, their time gaps around about 1 second as well, so that could be a battle that could come to fruition maybe in a few laps' time.
I wonder if Pred has managed to pull a master stroke here if he gets far enough. What is pit lane loss around here again? Because obviously I've not done a race around here in a little while in terms of the actual pit lane.
I'm not sure for certain, but I'd guess at around maybe 22 seconds. would be my
Which means
guess, but I
Fred
don't
at
know
the
for sure.
moment. Fred is gaining as well. Like he's 16.9 behind
Yeah.
in terms of the leaders. He's currently, yeah, he's about 30 seconds back, 31 seconds back.
So we might come out 4th or 5th by the end of the pit stops potentially. Or
talking of Fred, he made a mistake somewhere because that gap was 1.4 seconds.
yeah, maybe just a little touch of the wall somewhere, maybe, who knows, but as you say, yeah, that gap is starting to come down just a little bit.
He gave DRS to Vapid, but I don't think he's going to really be able to do all that much with it.
Yeah, we've still got the leaders pretty close to each other, and it's going to be a crucial point in the race because this is probably the easiest time in the race to make a mistake because your tyres are getting more and more worn out, and you're then more and more vulnerable to maybe making a lock up or missing your turning points.
To note though, that gap to Shot Metal is 3.5 now.
Yeah, that
and it is now coming down.
Definitely coming down, yep.
I think he's gained a second and a
Tom's in the
half.
pits.
Oh, Tom is the first. Tom is blinked
Scott
first.
stays out.
Oh, that is a big slide though. The amount of the rear sliding from that Haas, the rear tires did not look happy as they came out that corner. Now the question that will be on. Indeed, that could be interesting in the race.
He's got it in. So yeah,
one of these places you can get corner cut penalty warnings.
Because if the drivers are nose to tail come the end of the race, he's gonna lose a few positions if that is indeed the case.
And I believe Tom Gorian has emerged in clean air.
Yeah, he's about three or 4 seconds behind the Aston Martin of Checo. So for him, he's going to be looking to just push as much as he can on this outlap and hope that the tyres come up to temperature as quick as possible as well, and hope that he doesn't get held up by the Aston Martin driver, because if they do close up, it's going to be a very difficult task to do the overtake.
Indeed so. It's that gap is now going to be under 3 seconds between the leaders. Shot Metal is gaining, and I believe there goes Scott into the pits.
Yep.
Let's see, where's Tom Gorian?
I think it's
keep an eye on him because I think Scott's only just coming down the pit lane now.
Yeah. Heading into the braking zone.
If you want to keep an eye on him, if you want to keep an eye on him just now, see where he comes out. I'll keep an eye on Tom.
Yeah, he's just approaching the end. Oh, this is going to be very close. And I think, oh, side by side.
He got it. He got it. He's not. Oh, that is close.
And Tom
just has it. And now it's back to square one again.
Yeah.
However, though, they now have to clear traffic.
Martin, yep, that could play a big part in this.
I wonder if Scott might well use the traffic to his advantage here.
Yeah, that could be a thing. Tom's going to be maybe a bit frustrated at this moment in time. He's going to want to clear this Aston Martin car.
I mean, Checo's not exactly making this easy at all, because Checo's got. Oh, maybe he is making it easy.
And through.
Oh, there's been oh, that's a very awkward corner entry for Scott there.
Yeah, I don't think this is helping Scott at all. Tom's dealt with that
now Scott's
very well.
the exact opposite of what he needs. Oh, that is a big moment there. So, as Angelissimo's now into the pits. Oh, that was a crunch off the wall.
Checo there, as he goes into.
I think he was going to go in the pits anyway.
As does Angelo. He has also gone into the pit lane, and it is now Shot Metal who leads the race.
He needs a decent amount of time in the pit lane to actually make sure he's clear of drivers behind him. This is definitely going to be interesting though. Oh,
Angelo
Fred,
comes out just ahead of Fred, yeah.
Fred though is going to have a massive advantage of those tyres already being up to temperature.
That is true, yeah. Let's see if that does give the advantage to the AlphaTauri car. But is it going to be close enough? That is a question that we've said a lot throughout this race, and probably will be doing for the next
Probably
20
will see a
laps or
lot.
so. Yeah.
Yes.
Vapid is
Going by quite
also
quickly considering.
not far behind as well in the Williams car.
Yeah, Vapid is just hanging on there. Obviously the penalty will affect him just a little bit, but obviously Checo being quite far behind and Kirby being a bit further back than that due to what happened earlier on the race for Kirby means that I believe Vapid's in a sort of a decent position where he doesn't really have to worry about it too much.
Yeah, he's probably going to be kicking himself about that penalty that he has got, but oh, that's a penalty
That's
for Kirby
6
as
seconds
well
at
now.
that. I think
So
he's on 6 seconds.
he's at this moment in time going to be pressuring the drivers ahead in the hope that they also get a penalty to level out the playing field, really, in that sense.
Fred has not got much in the way of deployment. However, Vapid has a little. He's got not that much more, but he has more deployment, which could be an interesting call. Because obviously Monaco, it may seem like it's easy in terms of a track for saving ERS, but surprisingly it's not. Exactly, it's pretty much it's a similar level with fuel, because this track drinks fuel for what track you'd actually think would actually be the case.
Yeah, that can be the case as well, but I guess with the ERS it's just it's where you use it as well as how much of it you use, because if you use it in the right places, it can propel you a lot of speed into a certain corner if you do indeed do that.
Indeed so. By the way, to note, I believe Scott has damage. Or he has some issues because look at the gap.
Yeah. I'm not seeing damage on his car, but maybe he's got floor damage or something. I don't know.
I don't think the league runs floor damage. I know I seen him clonk the wall earlier on, a few laps after he came out the pits. He's catching back up now, but I think maybe he just had maybe a couple of off laps potentially.
I think only he will know really in this sort of situation. I think.
He is catching back up again, but not as quickly as he was.
Yeah,
maybe just
a bad lap or something. I don't know.
Potentially. I mean, the gap is going to be under 2 seconds again soon. Obviously, clean air around a track like Monaco is very important because obviously no dirt air from the car in front, which means you get less grip being washed away from your tyres and less aero lost.
Yeah, that is indeed true. And there's also there's quite a bit of curb hopping I'm seeing into the chicane, so I don't know if that's affecting anything. I don't know, but maybe there's been contact with the wall that we've not seen. Who knows?
He gained ground, but then he lost. It was down at 2.1. Now it's gone all the way back up to like round about 2.5 again, coming out of that final sector.
Yeah.
That's
maybe we're just seeing a big push from Tom Gorian after obviously the overtake on the Aston Martin of Checo. So maybe he just knows that this is a good time for him to be pushing, and just Scott can't quite keep up with him at this moment in time.
Yeah, Scott had the pace on the mediums. Maybe the hard tyres aren't suiting the Haas driver nearly as much as what the mediums were.
Maybe it could be a setup thing as well. Maybe they're running contrasting setups or something like that that's affecting the hard tyres compared to the mediums.
Very much potentially there on that front. So meanwhile, while that's going on, obviously we don't really have a lot apart from Vapid on Preds.
Yeah,
but
that's the closest Vapid we do have. Oh,
whoa!
Is that going to allow Vapid?
You can maybe use the ghost. No, Vapid's decided not to take advantage of the ghosting system.
Yeah. He could have made the overtake there, but I think he's done the think of the championship approach, I believe, in that scenario. But Fred's tyres, they're going to be heating up quite badly, so he's got to be careful not to worsen that issue.
30 laps on those hard tyres. I mean, the tyres are durable, yes, but are they that durable?
Yeah, we've not seen Shot Medal in the lead. He's not pitted yet, so we know
22 laps on those tyres.
They can do that distance. But yeah, Vapid very much closing up to the back of the AlphaTauri, and is he going to
The
be lining up a
AlphaTauri
move?
is not catching, now losing a lot of time to the Ferrari in front.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. Can we
This
see
might be important for Vapid to
an
get the
overtake
job done soon.
Yeah. He looks just a bit too far back. To say.
If you want to make a move
phrase
into that coming out
again.
the tunnel, you literally have to be.
You have to be like.
I think probably 3/10 and under.
Yeah. You have to be right on somebody's tail coming out of Portier.
Which I believe also is seen as a very memorable moment of Pascal Wehrlein being harpooned onto the track from Jenson Button's McLaren.
Yeah, that is very much a moment that we can all recall.
Yes, and probably will be the world's longest served unserved quali ban because it will never be served.
Yeah, that is also very true.
I don't see Jenson Button coming back to F1 anytime soon.
I am noticing a few sparks here and there coming out of the AlphaTauri of Pred, so maybe maybe running
lower suspension,
a low ride height maybe.
It's, as I say, with setups, it's kind of risk versus reward. Like, obviously, I believe a lot of the drivers here will probably be running very, very high wings.
Yes, that is. I wouldn't expect anyone to be running lower than like maybe 45, depending on the balance. Oh, that's shot Medal into pit lane from the lead of the race, but yeah, just from.
Let's see when he comes out. Whoa, that's a big lock up there from Tom.
on balance, things like that. Just different drivers preferring different things. And
he's onto the mediums. Where's he going to come out?
I think
he's going to be behind Scott. Will he be in front of Angelo?
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
He will be. He's comfortably in front of Angelo. Very good. That's a good stint from Shot Metal there.
Yeah,
Shot Metal. Yeah.
5 seconds off second place, just about. So.
Oh, this could be interesting.
Catch up that 5 seconds to the Haas, and then maybe even the Alpine as well of Tom Gorian. And we
I think that's
closing up to Pred once more as well.
This is just a thing of Vapid is just constantly being stuck behind someone, or he's been the head of a train.
That is very true. Yeah. Is he going to be getting a bit frustrated there, or is he just biding his time, waiting for an opportunity, because
the tyres to die on that AlphaTauri car.
At some point, yeah, those tyres are going to just get worse. Oh, that's a little bit of a
that's
cut.
a very awkward line from the AlphaTauri driver there.
And possibly a warning for that.
I would assume there would be a warning in that one, maybe more than one, because sometimes the game will give you more than one warning.
Yeah, sometimes that is true, yeah.
However, I'm looking at Pred's tyres. There is a very deep groove in the fronts.
Yeah, that is true, but Vapid's tyres are only 2 or 3 laps younger, so there's not going to be too much of a difference, but there's going to be just a little bit of a difference here and there.
To note though, looking at the lap times from Pred last time around, he was 2 seconds off his personal best.
Yeah. Do you think we'll be seeing the AlphaTauri pit crew come into the pits once more here?
Potentially. He may well have to pit again for soft tyres.
Yeah, because he ran
Scott!
Pretty wide into Mirabel, and yes, that is a penalty. So that will allow the Alfa Romeo.
That is all the indication that the actual Alfa Romeo driver needs to be right. And get the foot down. Let's go.
And that's also gonna relieve the pressure off the Alpine of Tom Gorian, because all he needs to do is just not let him overtake him, and he's gonna be leading the race.
Coming in 12.6. There's the pace on the medium compound tyres.
So that won't be helpful for him.
He's not getting the drive out of the corners he needs it.
Yeah.
He's just not close enough. He just cannot get close enough to the back of that car.
He needs that massive long straight added into the circuit, I think.
That massive straight, which we'll put somewhere.
Yeah, we'll just.
It's like
we'll create a tunnel, and then they can all just sort of whiz down that.
Yes. It's just, I'm looking at Pred, and he is definitely. If you notice, he's been a lot. How hesitant he is in the throttle.
Yeah. But just as we say again, just Vapids just cannot get close enough to do anything about it.
However, the battle's about to get interesting at the front while that's going on. Because Shot Metal's probably going to be within
in the last lap or so.
Youngest tyres in the field. I believe once again we're going to see stats go between Vapid and Pred. Pred's just going to use his ERS to pull away.
Yeah. He can just if Pred just uses his ERS smartly, he can frustrate Vapid, and if Vapid gets too frustrated, he might bit of a wall hit there.
That's a wall tap there. I wonder if he's got damage from that. That was quite a heavy hit on the wall there.
It was indeed.
Pred though, look at the amount of understeer the Alpha Tauri has. He's really struggling to get any kind of corner exit speed now.
Maybe he's gone for a straight line speed approach just so there's less of a chance of an overtake, maybe.
Well, Pred's only has got half of the battery of Vapids, or like just on 10% less. However, as we thought, Scott is just letting him go.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I know what the plan is here. I think I know what he wants to do here.
A Verstappen on Raikkonen, was it? He's going to
potentially. That's an interesting call from Scott. Yeah. I mean, I can see exactly why he wants to do this, because obviously the car, it's not worth fighting a car on much pressure mediums at the moment. Wait for the tyres in that car to drop off, and now let's Shot Metal catch up to the back of Tom Gorian.
Yeah, Scott could just sit behind Shot Metal with a bit of DRS as well, potentially, to get him those extra couple of meters here and there. But if he could potentially be using the Alfa Romeo to try and close back up Tom Gorian, because obviously
Tom spun!
Oh my gosh,
that's a dangerous rejoin there from Tom as well. What's happened?
Oh no,
he's had a Senna moment.
That is going to be so frustrating there from Tom Gorian, and he spun again.
He's got worn tire. His tires are cooked.
What is going on here?
His tires are completely cooked.
Yeah.
He's gone again. Angelo's had to avoid him.
Angelo's gone past as well.
That is the worst. That is a bad sequence of corners for the Alpine, who was looking on course for the win.
Yeah.
I wonder. He's got going again, but that is a horrible way. I think I know what's happened.
So he's
retired on track as well. You can't do that. You can't retire on track like that, Tom. That's going to be probably dealt with.
I mean, he was still P4. That is still some good points.
Yeah,
ahead of the championship leader as well. He was still ahead of the championship leader. So.
Yep. Vapid's gone for fastest lap.
For change of front wing for Vapid as well, and that is shocking.
Yeah.
I was not.
I have suspicions. Yeah. I think I know what happened with Tom, by the way.
Yeah.
You know the little bit of the wall that sticks out as you go into that chicane?
His rear tires.
It's caught on it.
Yeah.
And he was not careful, I don't think, about what then happened, and that's a double points finish for Alpine gone in the matter of just a few seconds.
Yeah, maybe just, I don't know, a lapse of concentration. I don't know.
That's all you need around here, it's just a lapse of concentration.
That's going to be so frustrating there from Tom.
Indeed so.
So we now have Shot Medal in the lead on mediums.
He finished, I believe, he was either P2 or P3 last week.
Yeah, so...
And now, he could take his first win in only his second race in the league.
That is very much true, and he'll be... Because he's had the Haas of Scott let him through, and then Tom's obviously had his spin as well, so he's just had the two leaders part ways for him to take the lead.
I mean, yeah, I knew what Scott was trying to do. Scott was going to let him go and then catch him back up.
At the time. And it's another penalty for
that's
Vapid.
6 seconds of penalties for Vapid.
Yeah.
He should be safe though. He's got I think Kirby behind him also has 6 seconds, so. And Scott with his 3 seconds has absolutely nothing to worry about from Angelo behind.
So that is. It's also left the.
Oh, Pred!
Yep, that's.
Well.
It's also left the smallest
Pred
gap
is
to
still
be
going on
3
those
seconds
tyres.
now. Vapid could catch
those
up to
tyres
Checo as well. That could be a thing that we.
Yeah, Pred is really struggling. He's coming, he's coming. I thought he would come in. There was no way he was doing 30 laps on those tyres.
Yeah.
Soft tyres, I'm going to assume for the AlphaTauri driver. Mediums.
Oh, interesting.
Surely that's a mistake.
Because I'd have thought you could take the softs to the end from here, as does Vapid, obviously.
Checo's going to come out just ahead of him.
Oh, it's going to be close here. Does Pred think that the softs won't last 7 or 8 laps to the end? Because
and once again, Vapid finds himself stuck behind the AlphaTauri.
Very true. But
I know
he's
also, the thing is, this is inadvertently also ruined Vapid's attempt to get a fastest lap.
That is true as well, yeah.
So, and ironically, Pred has managed to come out ahead, and he's frustrated Vapid all race.
Yeah.
He's within his rights, I suppose, to actually fight whoever is behind.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true, yeah.
And to say though, this is like your closest battle on track at the moment. Yeah,
but
I know, like, you know that orange barrier, I believe, that sticks out from that edge of that corner there. I think I know that's what the Alpine got caught on.
That could be another thing. I mean, we might see what happened. We might not. Yeah, but these 2 pit stops has allowed us back into to watch some battling again. And is it going to be into turn 1?
Oh, Pred is going to try and send it down the inside. Nope.
Does he get a good exit? Oh, that was close to being oversteered.
Oh, Checo's holding it. Checo's holding. Oh, that was
right there.
trying to go side by side into Casino.
Oh, is he going to do
it? Into Marabou
Oh.
next. Checo, is he going to defend the inside line? Checo still has it at the moment. However, so now, Checo now leads the top of this train. Obviously the Mexican driver, I believe, we haven't actually, that's a bit of contact with the wall there potentially. But the Mexican driver in the Aston Martin has, I believe he's not finished this high up in the season so far.
I believe his best finish is a 4th place, but he will be desperate to try and get on the podium as well.
Oh! Pred is going to pick up another penalty if he keeps doing that. And it's then going to be interesting between himself and Vapid.
It's going to be nose to tail.
Oh my word. I've already looked and Vapid has dropped 2.9 seconds in a sector.
Ooh. Is that compared
on those
to
tyres?
Kirby behind?
Is his personal best.
Or his previous best time? Oh, okay, that makes sense. But is it going to be side by side into turn 1 this time? Oh, he just backs out.
This is the thing. That's damage on both end plates for Checo. Checo's damage on the left-hand side, the right-hand side.
Yeah, that is. And is it going to be side by side between Oh, very close.
And then there goes Checo down 2 positions. I believe he has damage on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I think that is correct.
There's an end plate missing.
Unfortunately.
Didn't quite miss it. He's probably no front line now. Yes, he does. That's unfortunate there for him. But that means he's probably going to drop him back towards the Alpine of Kirby, who's the leading driver there.
A little bit of an unfortunate sector for Checo there, but he's still going to get some decent points if he continues on. So.
Indeed so. He just has to keep going. And it's like, it's the mentality of a track like this. It's just keep going.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, going back to the incident with Tom, he was still in 4th position when he retired, so to me that doesn't make sense, but
He's threw away 12
I
points
suppose
there just from that.
the frustration of losing the leads, I do understand as well, but
Yeah, still though. Most leagues normally have a rule on not retiring unless you're in the pit lane.
that is true, yeah.
Which means unfortunately he'll probably be done for that. I've just realised though, and Vapid probably hasn't realised this yet. We know how we saw in the sprint race, we saw Pred reset the track.
Yes, that is true.
The reset to track penalty is 15 seconds.
It is, yeah. So, where does that put Fred? 11.
Looking at overall
It puts him
leaderboards,
6th, I think, if it stays at these same gaps.
Yep, so could he drop back behind Kirby potentially as well?
I think he stays ahead of Kirby as it stands, but
Very much only jump.
that could obviously change.
And this has kind of just evolved into what Monaco normally is.
Yeah,
A procession.
very much so.
It's like, Monaco is very much the anti of every single other F1 track. Most of your action is on the Sunday rather than the Saturday.
Yeah.
However, Monaco, your action's on the Saturday and there's absolutely nothing on the Sunday.
Very much the case there. I was expecting Vapid to stay on the back of the AlphaTauri of Fred, but he's dropped a couple of seconds, so that's...
I'm looking at his tyres though.
Yeah, maybe the tyres.
Those tyres don't look happy. Yeah, there are some... It's not the deepest of grooves yet. Whoa! There's a mistake from Fred.
Is that going to allow an overtake from Vapid put
Oh,
on AlphaTauri?
Run the outside, run the inside! No, that was a big... Oh! Oh no, there's no way that's happening. I don't know what happened. I think Pred's lost the back end.
Fred just saw he was running a little bit wide and he just decided, I'll just park my car on the apex so
Can't park there, sir.
that I cannot be overtaken, is what he would be saying.
I mean, it is legitimately allowed as long
Yep,
as the car that you're battling with is not actually...
There's nothing wrong with it, as long as it's not a brake check, per se.
Indeed so. He's got away with it now and he's away once again, but...
Because
I'm looking at the rear end of his car wiggling, and I'm thinking he's on lower wings. He must be on lower wings because he doesn't look happy through the corners.
Because there definitely wasn't a brake check, so to speak. There, it was just I've gone a little bit wide here. I'm just gonna place my car in a position that will allow me to stay ahead in the terms.
It will.
Fred.
Yeah. I think it will depend on if Vapid decides to ticket that, I suppose.
Yeah. That is true.
However, we do now have Kirby who's going on to the softs to try and have his goal at the fastest lap.
Because he'll be in the air, whereas the only other driver on... Oh! Checo's made a mistake into Mirabeau, and that's...
He's left the session. We should be able to get him back into the session again.
Yeah. I'll see if I can get that sorted.
Yep, because he's obviously lost connection there for a second for some reason. I'm just hoping his car doesn't pit because we know what the cars do.
Yeah. So yeah, it's back to around 1.2 seconds, 1.4 seconds between Fred and Vapid now. So do you think that's Vapid's last chance of an overtake on Fred, maybe?
Potentially. I mean, soft tyres in this game in general are just generally bad. They just don't last.
They're usually just like a qualifying or a sprint race sort of tyre. Unless
5-6 laps on them, maybe a little bit more if you're a tyre whisperer.
But something else that I've noticed is the Alfa Romeo of
I did pit his car as well.
He's on his final lap actually.
Yep.
To
note though, as someone I was concerned about, that actually happening was Checo getting pitted on the actual penultimate lap, which cost him a place.
He'll still get his P7 though, so that's good.
Still
on
some
that
decent
front.
points, I suppose, for Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Anyway, while that's been going on, silently but surely, obviously he he finished in the podium last week at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, Spain last week, but it is going to be top step on the podium for Shot Medal, who obviously has shown his credentials in the league. There's probably more to come from him in the future. Could be a potential champion next year as the fireworks do go up. It is going to be P1 for Shot Medal. P2 is going to be Scott W. Obviously didn't quite have the pace in the end, but did actually has it benefited from the obviously Tom Gorian having his little incident as well. And Angelo in P3 is going to get his car on the podium.
That is very true, and he's kept his car clean, and he's got the rewards for it with a nice podium there for the Ferrari driver.
Yep. It's going to be 4th and 5th for Vapid. Obviously, we know that Vapid Pred will not be keeping hold of that 4th place post-race penalties.
Yeah, I think he is going to get 5th position, I think, though, so at least he's only losing 1 position from it.
Oh, Kirby's got back through, so I think Checo has lost the back end somewhere. He has.
Something to... Aha.
Yep, those two have crossed the finish line. I believe that...
At the moment
there, I believe that...
Shot Medal has
everyone has crossed the line. Yep, he kept the fastest lap. So, that was a... There was a little bit more action in there I was expecting for a Monaco race with only 9 to 10 drivers, and the driver of the day does indeed go to Shot Medal, and I think he's actually going to get driver of the day because that was a very impressive performance from the Alfa Romeo driver.
I have got nothing against that decision there, so yeah, good job to him.
So Shot Medal is the race winner for the feature race, taking 26 points for himself and the Alfa Romeo team. Second place is going to go to Scott. Obviously didn't quite have the pace in the end, and it will be 3rd for Angelo, probably a podium that Angelo wasn't expecting.
Well, yeah, he obviously kept himself clean, and he's got the rewards for it.
Congratulations to the top 3. Probably not going to have podium questions due to the nature of this being the Mexican Grand Prix going on in real life, so we will leave those for next week on a normal race week. So, congratulations to Shot Medal's first win in RFL. Hopefully there'll be more to come from the Alfa Romeo driver. Second place will go to Scott W in the Haas, taking advantage obviously of Tom Gorian having his incident earlier on in the race. Angelissimo will finish off and round off the top 3, Pred in 4th, so it's 3 and 4 for the 2 Italians, and the Ferrari and the Alfa Tauri. 5th and 6th is going to go to Vapid and Kirby. Obviously Kirby recovering after that early incident in the race, with Checo in 7th having been a little bit screwed over by the game with pitting him and losing the position on that one. It was then he was last finisher in Checo in 7th. The DNS, it was Tom Gorian unfortunately losing his head a little bit and deciding just to quit the race really when he shouldn't have, and then it was the 2 Mercedes of Fins and I believe it was Senna and Fins that rounded off the people who did not finish. Well, thank you very much, Cal, for joining me in the commentary box. I look forward to working with you in the commentary box a lot more until you have your potential issues sorted out.
Thank you for having me.
And we will round off this weekend, and I believe we have up next for the race next weekend. I believe we have Japan, but just let me have a quick old check on that front. I believe that is indeed correct. Yes, we have Japan up next, so that will be a lot more interesting of a race, but equally as difficult to overtake on. But that will be all from round number 14 from the Grand Prix of the Principality of Monaco. Thank you very much, Cal, for joining me, and
it has been a pleasure.
We will see you next week in Japan at the Suzuka circuit.